Because it's safety up there. And can't nobody, watch this, can't nobody mess with your stuff. They can't mess with your stuff at an elevated level. I think I'm boring, y'all. Let me get to the next thing. The next big thing. Here it is. I'm a few more minutes.
Shall run and not be weary.
Shall run and not be weary.
And they shall walk and not faint.
They shall what?
Walk.
And not what? And there's that word, what? Weary again. They shall run and not be what?
Weary.
And walk and not
Faint.
they that do who? Do what? They that what? Wait. I'm trying to get you to talk today. They that what? Wait. They shall run and what? Not be. They shall walk. They that what?
Wait.
That's good. Y'all got that. That's good. That is real good. That's real good. You won't be weary and you won't faint. I said you won't be weary and you won't faint. Here it is. Here's a scenario. Here's a scenario. Here's. Most of us got cars, right? A lot of us adults, we drive cars. Most of us drive cars, right? Yeah. Most of us drive cars. And with a car, you have an engine. If you have a car, you have an engine. And with that engine, you have to stop and service it. And watch this. And my dad's a mechanic. And when we got old enough, we were like in our teens, he started buying us cars. And he would tell us, he would tell me and my brothers, you got to change the oil. Because we don't like change. He said, the life of the engine is oil. So I remember I was always smart, wise. I changed my oil because my dad told me to. But my brother, my older brother, he didn't change. He would change his oil. So watch what happens. The engine locks up. And so when you go get the price of a new engine, the engine was worth more than what the car was worth. And all you had to do was buy $2 at that time, probably $1.99 quart of oil to save a $3,000 engine. Doesn't make sense, right? Doesn't make sense. And all you had to do is change the oil. Why do you have to change the oil? Because after about 3,000 or 4,000 miles on the car, the oil begins to lose something. And what is it that the oil loses? The oil loses velocity. It's what you call velocity. Your oil begins to lose velocity. And when the oil begins to lose velocity, it can't protect the oil. It can't protect the engine because it's losing its velocity. So most engines, or all engines, have what you call oil and a filter. And the filter helps keep the velocity. It keeps out trash and dust. And you have to change the filter and the oil to keep the velocity. What has happened to most Christians? They haven't changed the filter. And trash is getting in the oil. God has given you the oil and you haven't filtered it. You have let trash. Oh my God. So what are you saying, Pastor? The filter hasn't been changed. Okay, so I didn't believe it. So my dad was breaking the engine down. Come here, son, let me show you what. You're working on somebody's car that didn't change their oil, never changed the oil. So let me show you what happens when you never change the oil. So he takes the valve cover off of the engine, and he takes his finger, and he rubs the oil, and he said, you see how much dirt is on that? You see how much dirt is in the oil? Somebody, now him being a smart mechanic, doing mechanic work for years, he understands that there shouldn't be dirt, grit, and grime in the oil. Y'all, am I preaching to anybody? So he don't need to go take that to a lab to do a survey on what happened to the engine. He can see the dirt. And so somebody didn't change the filter, nor did they change the oil. And so what happens is the velocity breaks down in the oil, and it wears the engine. Y'all better come on talk. I'm preaching real good. Yeah. And so watch this. God says, when we don't filter what's coming in our ears, what's in our spirits, when we don't filter it, all the junk get through. it gets through.
Yeah.
Come on now, y'all. I'm preaching real good. It gets through. Because we never did what? We never changed the filter. And we never, no, we ain't got to go that far. Why did you even let the junk get to the filter? Everything loses its velocity. So what happens when you change the filter, change the oil, everything gets its velocity back. And God is trying to get the velocity back to the believers. He's trying to put the velocity back in it because the velocity protects. Come on. It protects. The filter blocks and the velocity protects. Woo. The filter, oh, and who is our filter? Jesus Christ is our filter. He will take that body and he will filter it and it will block the junk. And watch what happens when Jesus filters the body. The oil flows. Hallelujah. What does the oil represent? It represents the anointing of God. When the oil begins to flow in your family, in your children, when the oil begins to flow, when the anointing, Junior, when the oil begins to flow, change the filter. Pastor, how do I change the filter? How do I change the filter? You have to do a stop by, drive by. You have to go to Orcan Henry. Jiffy Lube. How do I filter the body? Can I tell you, Pastor Provine Turner Jr. is Orcan Henry. TGW is Jiffy Lube. And it will keep that filter changed. It will keep it clean. And the trash can't get in. Y'all like that?
Yeah.
I didn't write that down. I didn't script that. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning and God said, this is what you preach. Some things you don't give you no notes until you get up. I don't have not one note. All the stuff I just told you, all I got is scriptures written down. I don't have not one note. Some preachers can do it. They can't do it without a note. But God is teaching me how to do it without a note. Just get the mic and trust Him. And give the people what I tell you to give them. Come on. It works better. It works better. That was off the press, Patrice. I didn't come up with that on my own. It says, change the filter. Tell them to change the filter. And keep out the trash. And the oil will not lose the velocity. Come on, give God.